Terrific. Let me bring in محمد القرقاوي, His Excellency the Minister of Cabinet Affairs in the UAE. What have governments learned from this process, would you suggest, Minister, with the pandemic, and again, this year being such a crucial one for COP26? What is the role of governments as you see it today with the external challenges that we've been dealing with all around the world, as a matter of fact?
Let me start, John, by stating this year the most affected organization in the world are government. We have government who fail miserably in handling the pandemic, and maybe few government did a good job. I think if we look at the numbers, of last year during the same time we had only 2,000 cases, 52 deaths. Today, just 12 months down the road, it is 100 million, 2 million deaths worldwide. With the pandemic and the speed, it is, the speed of the spreading the virus was 4 million fold. And that's created a tsunami for government globally. The most important thing today is how do we balance between our health, economy, society? How do we vaccinate the world population? Only 63 million people got vaccinated in 56 countries so far. In the Emirates, we are number 2. Israel is number 1 with close to 39% of the population. In the Emirates, we are around 25% of the population, and there is a daily increase here. But the most important thing is we have to look as government, global government, at the total population in the world. We understand by the end of the year, maybe half of the population will be vaccinated, but unfortunately, the other half wouldn't have the mean. So for us, it is not a single government, and this is very important. We cannot work alone as a silo government. This is a global spread, and this is the only time, maybe in recent history of mankind, where everybody have to come together. I think government have to reinvent their model. The model been there for almost 200 years, didn't change. Government have to be embedded with technology. There is a new norm. Our meeting is a new norm. Government have to adopt with a lot of changes. But the most important thing is, I think, for government is they have to be fast, they have to be agile, and they have to change and reinvent themselves in the next decade.
Thank you very much, Minister. I'm going to follow up also on this role for the UAE as a crossroads between East and West, and with the vaccine supplies, the vaccine diplomacy, which I think could be very interesting to reach out into the region. I think it's extraordinary. You said fast, agile, and to reinvent yourselves. I had been coaching some of the journalist students here at the CNN Academy, and I always say fast, agile, and deep as governments as well, to have that depth to respond to such a challenge. I wanted to take a question from the audience, and this is one for Minister Gergawi, if I may here. The question is, what's the role of governments interfacing with companies to hit these metrics? And how do you have government, private sector contributions that can make a difference and accelerate this transition? Would you say, Minister Gergawi?
Let me start with a number, John. From March last year to now, if you look at United States and you look at top company or individual, their gain during the pandemic was close to $800 billion. Few people, during a very tough time, they made a certain amount of wealth, actually. Meanwhile, we are looking at how much half of the population, actually, of the world cannot be vaccinated because of the economy of certain country, actually. I think the world have changed. I'll talk in totality, basically. I wouldn't talk about just company. I think we need to have a new norm. A new norm where corporations have tremendous responsibility because the gap is widening. This is not a single issue for government, neither for company. This is a triangle between government, company, and society. And our moral responsibility, even as a government, we believe that the role of government will change in the future. Will change because government will be evaluated not just on their internal policy, but also how much they extend the hand, how humane they are toward the rest of the world. And that's what we are doing here, part of what you are doing in this matrix. I believe that during the pandemic, when we gave hand or distributed over 220 countries globally in a tough time, in a time where countries were just keeping everything for themselves, a new model has emerged where we said, yes, we'll look at ourselves, we'll take care of our people, but our people also are the rest of the world. So vaccine distribution, medical distribution, food distribution went to 120 countries. I think government and the private sector can work very closely. Usually, things take ages. The virus itself, the vaccine itself, government work very closely with the private sector in developing these vaccines. They change very fast, a lot of law, and within a couple of months, a new thing is happening. There is a hope for the rest of the world.
Thanks for joining us. I'm glad CNN could co-partner with the World Economic Forum, as always. This is a very important issue, as I said, because of COP26 this year. And also equally important, Italy, is the recovery status and trying to get that vaccine penetration high so confidence is rebuilt in the second half of 2021. Thanks for all the questions from the audience. They were superb, and appreciate your attendance to this session.